Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. In this episode, I'll cover President Trump's trip to Malaysia, the elimination of drug cartels, anti ICE and Antifa activity, updates from the DOJ and FBI, and the government shutdown. Of course, I'll end with the noteworthy tidbits. President Trump traveled to Malaysia as the opening leg of a broader Asia tour that also includes Japan and South Korea. The trip centered on the 13th ASEAN Summit and the 20th East Asia Summit, hosted by Malaysia. Trump's itinerary was packed with diplomatic engagements focused on peace, trade, and security, including a welcoming ceremony, a bilateral meeting with the Malaysian Prime Minister, brokering the Kuala Lumpur peace accords, trade agreements and economic deals, the ASEAN leaders' working dinner, and broader summit participation. Upon his arrival, Trump was greeted with a ceremonial flag exchanged featuring U.S. and Malaysian flags, and he waved to the crowds before departing alongside the Malaysian Prime Minister. Later that afternoon, Trump held a one-on-one discussion with the Malaysian Prime Minister, emphasizing strengthened ties under the U.S.-Malaysian Comprehensive Partnership. Topics included boosting trade and investment, defense cooperation, and people-to-people exchanges, and the meeting paved the way for transformative deals expected to bring billions in economic benefits to the U.S., including enhanced access to critical minerals and export controls aimed at curbing Chinese influence. Trump secured reciprocal trade pacts with Malaysia and Cambodia, alongside joint trade statements with Thailand and Vietnam. These frameworks aim to reduce U.S. trade deficits, particularly with Vietnam and Thailand, by granting preferential market access for American industrial and agricultural exports. Discussions also touched on tariffs, with Trump expressing optimism for broader Asia-Pacific deals to ease tensions from his administration's aggressive tariff policies. That evening, Trump joined ASEAN leaders for a working dinner, followed by engagements at the summit. Priorities included regional security, transnational crime, and U.S. defense cooperation with Cambodia. He also elevated U.S.-Malaysia relations strategically amid Malaysia's delicate balancing act between U.S. and Chinese interests. On to the elimination of drug cartels. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has come out in opposition to the Trump administration's strikes on narco-terrorists, which some find suspicious, and Trump revealed that he's on the verge of launching kinetic military strikes against cartels on land. Trump said, "Mexico is run by the cartels, and we have to defend ourselves from it. And that includes Colombia. Colombia is a drug den." Florida police busted a Colombia theft ring run by illegal aliens disguised as landscapers, and President Trump and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent placed major sanctions on Colombian President Petro and his family. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed that thousands of foreign terrorists have been arrested so far this year, and a Harvard-Harris poll found that 71% of responders support the elimination of narco-terrorists and cartels in Latin America. The Department of War decimated another narco-terrorist boat in the Caribbean, this one affiliated with Tren de Aragua, and War Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered the Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group to the U.S. Southern Command Area of Responsibility to enhance and augment existing capabilities to disrupt narcotics trafficking. In recent weeks, the Trump administration carried out an historic operation to arrest, prosecute, and permanently remove cartel members. Those involved in the operation include the Departments of Justice, War, and Homeland Security, the intelligence community, ATF, the DEA, the U.S. Marshals, and state and local agencies, all led by ICE and the FBI. Trump revealed that just recently 70 tons of deadly narcotics and over 1,000 illegal guns were seized, and National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard informed President Trump that her office helped to secure the arrest of top cartel members in Mexico, including someone who was selling newborn babies and harvesting organs. Let's switch to illegal immigration-related news. People continue to blame California Governor Gavin Newsom for his state giving out CDL licenses to illegal aliens who don't know how to drive safely. With this latest accident, killing 3 people in California, it appears the driver was also intoxicated. Newsom, however, is blaming the Biden administration, with his office saying the federal government approved and renewed this individual's federal employment authorization multiple times, which allowed him to obtain a commercial driver's license in accordance with federal law. Okay, so by those standards, having a work permit is all you need to be able to obtain a CDL. Clearly, California is still at fault for giving out the CDL. In fact, a federal audit found that California issued around 62,000 CDL permits to illegal aliens and migrants, and it was found the other Indian illegal alien who caused the wreck, killing 3 people in Florida, failed his CDL test 10 times across 60 days in 2023. For those who may be second guessing what I've just said here, yes, there are two separate Indian illegal aliens with the last name of Singh who obtained a CDL in California, who then went on to cause two separate wrecks, killing 3 people in each wreck. California may now lose another $160 million in federal funding and their ability to give out CDLs because, as Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy explains, California doesn't follow rules that keep Americans safe. Furthermore, the Trump administration has launched an investigation into companies who hire CDL drivers that are illegal aliens and migrants who can't speak English, because if you can't speak English, how can you pass the test or read road signs in the first place? Sure, they can learn enough English to understand the standard road signs, but what about those in construction zones? What about during routine traffic stops? Anyways, let's move on to other topics related to illegal immigration. CMS Chief Dr. Oz said he found over $1 billion in fraudulent spending on healthcare for illegal aliens, and the Trump administration intends to deport Kilmar Garcia to Liberia as early as October 31st. The Trump administration is preparing to increase illegal alien arrests now that over 175,000 Americans have applied to work for ICE, but unfortunately, even with all that support, there are still people out there committing violence against ICE agents, which shifts us right into our next topic, anti-ICE and Antifa activity. House Democrats launched a master ICE tracker website, and New York Attorney General Letitia James launched a portal for people to submit photos of ICE agents so that they may be investigated. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker created a special commission to track ICE agents so that they may be prosecuted as well, and Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt scolded the media for promoting these apps and websites, which facilitate doxing and violence. Leavitt said, "This is actively putting the lives of our ICE agents at risk," and FBI Director Kash Patel promised to arrest anyone who endangers immigration agents' lives by doxing their locations on these tracker apps. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced investigations into Pritzker, Lori Lightfoot, and others for targeting ICE agents, with Lightfoot immediately instructed to preserve all documents related to her actions. The DOJ has formally demanded Democrat officials, including Pritzker and Nancy Pelosi, to stand down against ordering the arrest of immigration agents, explaining, "You cannot touch federal agents when they're doing their job, and that's something that they know, and something we reminded them of last night, because if you do, you're committing a crime." Conservatives are demanding criminal charges against Chicago Democrat Alderman Timmy Knutson for publicly doxing the current location of federal immigration agents. And speaking of Chicago, left-wing protesters and rioters began wearing masks and shields outside the Broadview, Illinois ICE facility. After they threw rocks at Border Commander Greg Bovino, Bovino deployed a tear gas canister, and several rioters were arrested for assaulting federal immigration agents. The DOJ and acting U.S. Attorney in California are now considering RICO charges against Antifa and left-wing terror participants now that President Trump has designated them a terror organization, and conservatives are demanding an investigation into Democrat politicians in Washington state after it was reported they are funneling money to Antifa through NGOs meant to help the homeless. Portland police surrendered the streets to Antifa, and scuffles and violent clashes ensued. Some were arrested, however, including the Antifa leftist who robbed and assaulted journalist Cam Higbee. Police eventually raided the Antifa encampment, completely shutting it down, and for a while, all was quiet around the Portland ICE facility. Shifting to news from the Department of Justice and FBI. Attorney General Pam Bondi is seeking the death penalty for the killer of Irina Zarutska, and the killer has been federally indicted. FBI Director Kash Patel unveiled a major sports gambling bust involving the NBA, and NBA players and coaches have been arrested for their involvement. Patel said, "The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals, and the charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, and illegal gambling." The FBI also secured the takedown of gang members, illegal firearms, and drugs in Philadelphia, and Patel confirmed that in only 8 months, enough drugs have been seized and removed from American streets that can kill over 200 million Americans. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon confirmed the DOJ is sending election monitors to polling places like New Jersey and California on November 4th, and California Governor Gavin Newsom expressed his opposition to this, claiming the DOJ doesn't have jurisdiction to prevent illegals from voting and calling this an act of voter suppression. Dillon pointed out that Democrat Katie Porter previously giving out free stuff in voting lines is an example of why the DOJ is watching elections in California. Let's move on to the government shutdown. On the 23rd, Senate debates on competing funding bills failed for the 6th time, with Republicans blocking Democratic measures that include Affordable Care Act extensions, and there were reports of delayed economic data releases, including labor market reports, due to furloughs at the Department of Labor. Food banks nationwide reported a 20 to 30% surge in demand from furloughed federal workers and contractors, and on the 24th, the Senate adjourned for the weekend. Air traffic controllers faced their first missed paycheck cycle, with 13,000 affected, and the FAA warned of potential delays due to unpaid overtime. On the 25th, CDC staff received reduction in force notices, though a federal judge's earlier restraining order limits mass layoffs, and private companies like DoorDash announced emergency food delivery programs for SNAP recipients, anticipating disruptions. On the 26th, public backlash grew over SNAP funding, set to halt on November 1st. Senate Democrats rejected paying essential federal employees during the government shutdown, a vote that came after Democrats admitted that suffering is their leverage. Now it's time for the noteworthy tidbits, which are brought to you today by Old Glory. Let me tell you about them quick. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. All right, let's get back to the tidbits. President Trump approved $3 million in disaster funding for the state of North Dakota to assist in the aftermath of the major tornadoes and flooding. The Ronald Reagan Foundation caught Canada using a fake Ronald Reagan quote to run advertisements against President Trump's tariffs, and as a result, Trump terminated all trade negotiations with Canada. Ontario Premier Doug Ford pulled the ad, and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is reportedly flustered that the trade negotiations have ended. Even though the ad was pulled, Trump raised tariffs on Canada by another 10%. President Trump's power to federalize the California National Guard to support immigration enforcement was upheld by the Ninth Circuit, but Trump took to Truth Social to announce that San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie is making significant progress in ridding the city of crime, so he will no longer be sending federal agents to that location. The U.S. Senate confirmed Stephen Chad Meredith to be U.S. District Judge for the Eastern District of Kentucky, and advanced Rebecca Tableson to be U.S. Circuit Judge for the 7th Circuit. President Trump endorsed several representatives for re-election, including Andrew Clyde, Eline Crane, Nick Langworthy, Claudia Tenney, Keith Self, Troy Niels, Lance Gooden, Jake Elzy, August Pfluger, Doc Jackson, Brian Babin, Greg Murphy, Chuck Edwards, Brad Knott, Mike Ezel, Darn LaHood, Marlon Strutzman, Andy Ogles, Jeff Hurd, Randy Fine, Mike Herodopoulos, Greg Stabb, Lisa McLean, Jack Bergman, Nicole Meliatakis, Addison McDowell, Dave Rouser, Richard Hudson, and Jimmy Petronas. Documents have been located that show Christopher Wray, Jack Smith, Merrick Garland, and others from the Biden administration signed off on Operation Arctic Fox. Massive progress was made towards building the White House's new ballroom, and a list of donors was released. That list includes Amazon, Coinbase, Comcast, Hard Rock, Google, Microsoft, and others. President Trump confirmed that they've raised $350 million towards building the ballroom and that he'll donate whatever is needed. Some Democrats are plotting to impeach Trump over his construction of the ballroom, but many, including the Washington Post, have fired back, calling the addition of the ballroom reasonable, pointing out that gatherings will no longer have to take place under tents in the mud. Texas doctor May Lau surrendered her medical license after she was sued by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton for giving transgender drugs to children, and a federal judge struck down a Biden-era policy that required hospitals to perform transgender surgeries and sex changes. U.S. inflation came in slightly below expectations, and American mortgage rates fell to the lowest level in all of 2025. The Dow closed above 47,000 for the first time ever, and the S&P 500 and NASDAQ also closed at record highs. New York Attorney General Letitia James pleaded not guilty to federal charges of bank fraud, and now she's filed a motion to dismiss and accused President Trump of vindictive and selective prosecution, which is rich considering she ran her campaign on prosecuting Trump. Democrats in Maine voted down a proposed law that would ban AI-generated child pornography for some reason. House Republicans are pushing to denaturalize Zohran Mamdani and possibly deport him due to issues with his citizenship form. President Trump took to Truth Social to repeat his warning to pregnant women to not use Tylenol unless absolutely necessary and to encourage parents to split their children's shots up, making 5 separate medical visits. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna pushed to ban dual citizens from serving in Congress. A scientist named a newly discovered butterfly species after Irina Zurutska, with the common name being Arenas azure. The species name is Celestrina irina, derived from the Greek goddess of peace. 2 U.S. military aircraft went down in the South China Sea within the same hour of each other. The crew members of both aircrafts have been safely recovered and are in stable condition. The case is now being investigated. That's all I have for today. I'll be back with another update soon. Until then, please like, subscribe, and share this podcast, and follow me on Instagram and X at Shades of Jade Pod. Thank you for listening and have a great day.